The Lord be with you.
And with your spirit.
Reading from the Holy Gospel according to Matthew.
Glory to you, O Lord.
Jesus said to his disciples, "The kingdom of heaven is like a treasure buried in a field, which a person finds and hides again, and out of joy goes and sells all that he has and buys that field. Again, the kingdom of heaven is like a merchant searching for fine pearls. When he finds a pearl of great price, he goes and sells all that he has and buys it. Again, the kingdom of heaven is like a net thrown into the sea, which collects fish of every kind. When it is full, they haul it ashore and sit down to put out what is good into buckets. What is bad, they throw away. Thus it will be at the end of the age. The angels will go out and separate the wicked from the righteous and throw them into a fiery furnace, where there will be wailing and grinding of teeth. Do you understand all these things?" They answered, "Yes." And he replied, "Then every scribe who has been instructed in the kingdom of heaven is like the head of a household, who brings from his storeroom both the new and the old." The Gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ.
Brothers and sisters, if God were to appear to you tonight, not just in a dream, but in a vision, and encourages you to ask for anything that comes to your mind at that moment, and He promises that He will give it to you, what would you ask for? There are so many pressing needs that each of us might think at that moment. Some might think about complete healing as they deal with some serious health issues, not just for themselves, but for loved ones. Others might ask for some financial help. Really not riches, but just enough to pay off some debts and keep the family in reasonable comfort. Just enough to get by. And still others might ask for some Christian virtues like patience, temperance, understanding, forgiveness, just to get over some issues of the past and move on. And as we go through this pandemic and go through the social upheavals happening in our country and elsewhere in the world today, we might ask for peace, reconciliation. We might ask for an end to war. On my part, I would like to pray the Serenity Prayer, which you know very well. Lord, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change. Grant me the courage to change those things that I can with your help. But above all, grant me the wisdom to know the difference, to know what is right from wrong, to know what is your will and not mine. Brothers and sisters, since the beginning of time, man has always searched for some treasure hidden somewhere he did not always know. There is that emptiness we were born with that seeks to be filled by something, by someone. Oftentimes this search makes for some wonderful stories of life, of adventure and tales of wild experiences and travels through beautiful places, beautiful lands, encountering peoples along the way. Make for a beautiful adventures into some kind of a fairy tale, exciting challenges that could be very good theme for movies and books. But through all these experiences, man always ends up with nothing, even losing everything he had to begin with, and becomes even more merciful than when he began. Nevertheless, through all these, man learns a beautiful lesson in life. All his experiences had given him the sense of wisdom and a better understanding of what life is, what the world is about, and what love is, and how to deal with failures and disappointments, and that's good enough. Through it all, man discovers the truth about himself, about the meaning and purpose of life. For example, he learns that there's no pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. After Earl Grant's song, At the End of the Rainbow, that there's no end of the river where water stops its flow, but goes through, or it ends in the ocean. Life does not stop at the end of the highway, but life has its meaning and purpose. It never stops until that purpose is achieved. For it is a gift from God, which is the real treasure worth living for. For those who do not believe in God, life might become simply a fairy tale adventure, and where all hopes and dreams come up cold and empty. But for those of us who believe in God, hopes and dreams are for real. The Catechism of the Catholic Church is a great source of wisdom for us. The wisdom that comes from thousands of years of real experiences and testimonies of those who came before us. And we have come to believe what the church teaches us, that the desire for God, desire for happiness, desire for everything and glory is written in every human heart. Because man is created by God and for God. And God never ceases to draw man to himself. Only in God will we find the truth. Only in God will we find true happiness. Only in God can we find ever the fulfillment, the meaning and purpose of life. For God so loved the world, he gave his only begotten Son, so that those who believe in him may not perish in their follies, but might have eternal life. For God did not send his Son into the world to condemn the world, but that the world might be saved through him. Saved from what? It is to save us from ourselves, thinking that life is for searching and aiming for things that do not really matter in the end. From illusions of worldly grandeur, power, beauty, fame, and wealth. Jesus came to tell us the truth about what life is about, what its purpose was. And John 3:17-18 continues, whoever believes in him will not be condemned, but whoever does not believe has already been condemned, because he has not believed in the name of the only Son of God. talking about the second reading today. God has predestined all of us. The question of predestination has always been at the center of discussions among moral theologians. But on my own watch, I can declare that God from the beginning already had predestined me and you and everyone to the kingdom of heaven. That was the destination of man as established by God. That was declared at the beginning of time. An invitation had been extended to each one of us. An invitation to a party. All we needed to say was, I'm coming, or I'm not coming. The words of David's son, Koheleth, the king in Jerusalem, who we consider as Solomon in his wisdom, wrote, life is all vanity. Vanity of vanity, says Koheleth. Vanity of vanities, all things are vanity. What profit have we from all the toil, which we toil at under the sun? One generation departs and another continues, but the world forever stays. The sun rises and the sun sets, then it presses on to the place where it rises. Shifting south, shifting north, back and forth shifts the wind, constantly shifting its course. All rivers flow to the sea, yet the sea never becomes full. To the place where they flow, the rivers continue to flow. All things are wearisome, too wearisome for words. The eye is not satisfied by seeing, nor has the ear enough of hearing. What is your greatest treasure in life? What is the treasure that's worth aiming for in your life? What is the greatest treasure that you would ask God for? From the readings of today, there's no real treasure under the sun but the treasure of the kingdom of heaven. Jesus in the gospel continues to give us an image of what that treasure is. The kingdom of heaven is like a treasure. The kingdom of heaven is such and such. All images of beauty, all images of promises, and all images of man's destiny. Through baptism, we have become God's adopted children, hence adopted brothers and sisters of Jesus himself. And to all of us was given the treasure of the kingdom of heaven as our inheritance. Jesus paid for that inheritance. And all he asks us to do is to embrace it, to keep it, to protect it, defend it, aim for it, hope for it, and live for it. That's the only treasure that matters. And Jesus came to sow that seed of the kingdom of heaven already in our hearts. Jesus speaks of us in the gospel to us of the kingdom of God, for that is what he came for. Many saints and Saint Paul knew that, accepted that when he converted to the Lord. When he wrote to the Romans, he said, I consider that the sufferings of this present time are as nothing compared with the glory to be revealed for us. He remembers very well from the Gospel of John and from whatever was written back then by the apostles, that in my Father's house there are many mansions. That is what I came to tell you about. I shall go to prepare a place for you, but I shall come back to take you with me soon. We know that all creation is groaning in labor pains even until now. And not only that, but we ourselves. We continue to learn from Ecclesiastes, the book of Koheleth. I amassed for myself silver and gold, the treasures of kings and princes. I provided for myself male and female singers and the delights of men and many women. I accumulated much more than all others before me in Jerusalem. My wisdom too stayed with me. Nothing that my eyes desired did I deny them, nor did I deprive myself of any joy. Rather, my heart rejoiced in the fruit of all my toils, and this was my share of all the fruits of my labor. But then I turned to all the works that my hands had wrought, and to the fruit of the toil for which I had sweated so much. See, all vanished as all vanities. I was chasing after the wind. There is no profit under the sun. Brothers and sisters, Jesus already gained for us the kingdom of heaven, the real treasure that matters. And he purchased the kingdom of heaven for you and me with the great price of his own sweat and blood. And all he wants is to treasure it, to love it, to embrace it. And everything that we say, think, and do must be aimed to that treasure and that treasure alone. For that's all that matters in the end. I was talking with some lady. She came for counseling. She was crying. She was angry with a sister-in-law who had been talking bad against her after helping her all throughout. When she was coming from Mexico, she had nothing in her family, and she opened her house and she opened her love and her heart to this family because she was the sister of her husband. And in the end, when she had settled, she left off, found a job, bought a car, and settled in an apartment, and started talking against the sister-in-law that had helped her from the beginning. She was hurt. She was hurt. And she was asking simply if she was to tell her husband about everything that his sister had done. I said, no. Shall I confront her, Father, of the evil she has done after all that I had given her? No. Oh, Father, what do you want me to do? Forgive her. Oh, I can't do that. I can't do that. And she was crying. No, she was obstinate. She was hard-headed. She could not. Maybe in time, but not now. Sister, you came for counseling. But I tell you what to do. Forgive her. You're asking too much, Father. No, I'm not asking too much. Are you going to lose heaven just to give you the pleasure of punishing somebody? For that, you're willing to lose the kingdom of heaven? For that, for the little pleasure in life, are you going to lose the kingdom of heaven? Many times we are foolish to do that, to decide. These readings today warn us about it. Don't lose the kingdom of heaven. It's already ours. It's yours and mine. Don't lose it just to give ourselves a little pleasure in life. It's not worth it. That's why you came. Because you love the kingdom of heaven. You want to get there. You want to celebrate that hope. That's why we came together. So that's the hope that Jesus gives us.